on digital citizenship and what that means. Welcome to Chapel Hill Center from the staff and students of Wayne Township. We are grateful that you're here and are excited to give you some information about what digital citizenship is and what it looks like here in Wayne Township. My name is Robbie Grimes. I'm the e-learning specialist for Wayne Township Schools. I get the privilege of going around to all classrooms in the entire district and working with students and teachers, helping them integrate technology into the curriculum, and also helping them learn about information literacy and about digital citizenship, and kind of guiding what that looks like. My job this evening really right now is to kind of give you an idea of what digital citizenship is. Some of you may not have an idea of even what that term means, but if broken down, digital citizenship is being a citizen, much like we are citizens of the United States, in a digital world that we find ourselves, meaning social media, meaning internet, meaning commerce. There are 9 elements that have kind of been put together, 9 parts of digital citizenship, which include things like health and safety, which include things like security, which include things like internet usage, buying and selling things online. And those 9 things really kind of encapsulate what digital citizenship is. And we've put this evening together so that parents in the community have an idea of what it is that the school system is doing to educate our children in this 21st century world in which we find ourselves today. And so you'll hear the perspective of our administrators first. They will come and give you an idea of what it looks like from the global perspective. What do those administrators, those district administrators and building administrators see happening as a result of good or bad digital citizenship in their buildings or at the district level? Then we're going to have a couple of media specialists come up, and they are going to have some students join them to discuss what it is that we're doing in our school buildings instructionally, directly instructionally, for students, and how we are instructing our students in digital citizenship and what that means, how they're learning those things, and how they're applying those things. Then after that, we have several teachers from various levels, grade levels across the district, who are going to come and talk to you for just a few moments about what it looks like in their classrooms when they apply these skills that the media specialists are teaching their students. Then after that, we have Detective Getz from the state police, who is going to come and talk to us a little bit about his perspective and statewide dealing with cyber crimes, dealing with internet crimes and things like that. He will be discussing that a little bit. And then Mrs. Lyle and I will come up at the very end and give you some helpful tips and practical things that you can do in your household to continue what it is that we're doing here in Wayne Township instructionally at home, and what that might look like in your house. So the first person I'd like to introduce to you this evening is Pete Just. He is the Chief Technology Officer for Wayne Township Schools, and he is going to kick off the administrator perspective of our digital citizenship evening. Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Robbie. So as my job title is Chief Technology Officer, so I'm really the one that works most directly with Dr. Butts and the superintendent's cabinet, and tries to kind of figure out what types of things we want to try to achieve as we're running different types of initiatives. And as we started talking about digital literacy and different types of things that we wanted to try to put in place many years ago now, one of the things we wanted to do is a lot of the things you see happening around you now, getting students access to something we call My Big Campus, which is a great kind of social media platform to learn social media skills for students, and also what it really does is it's a learning management system, and it helps teachers teach within a context kind of digitally, if you will. And when we started talking about that, and we eventually also adopted Google Apps for Education, one of the things that came up was the importance of digital citizenship and information literacy. And these two terms are really important. The second one I'll define quickly first. Information literacy is really understanding the literacy of the world that is on the internet for the most part. And all of us that have been around for a while know that the value of something really kind of comes from its validity and its authenticity. So, for example, we had a great game on Friday, just a couple hundred feet from here, and the best information you can get on that actually was happening on Twitter, because it was live, and if you couldn't actually dial into the TV station, you actually got almost a live feed from a whole bunch of people. That's super valid information. Now, if someone was actually not standing there, I wouldn't know that, though. So there's a whole piece to being literate to the idea of where information's coming from and being able to, if you will, parse that information to try and find out what was really kind of truthful, if you will. And that's really important for research papers and things like that, because if you just quote Wikipedia, you probably don't have the most authoritative source, for example. So that's the literacy piece. And then there's the digital citizenship piece, which is really understanding kind of what your digital footprint is and how to work and act inside of that world of the internet. And by digital footprint, you'll hear this term, I'm sure, a couple of times tonight. I mean, kind of what's your impression? What did you leave behind on the internet? So for example, if you type something, if you post a picture of something, that actually is going to be around for a long time. If you don't believe me, go do some searches and you'll see a number of things that are out there about yourself that you might not even know was even published. So that digital footprint idea is one we want to try to teach students, and so we developed a curriculum around that really starts in second grade, and we decided that the best people to teach that really were media specialists, people that specialized in multimedia. Now, of course, when a lot of them went to school, the internet was maybe just really kind of getting started, but most of them have really kept up pretty well, and they understand kind of that idea of validity of sources, and they pretty well understand, with especially some additional teaching we did, that idea of imprint in the digital world. And then the thing we wanted to try to add to that we're adding this year, is not just helping students understand that, but also helping parents understand that. My parents actually were immigrants to this country, and when they first got here, they didn't know a lot about American culture. They didn't know how to speak English. They didn't know kind of different ways people act and react to others. In many ways, parents are kind of foreigners in this digital land, and just like my parents were when they came here. So there's ways that you can acclimate yourself and understand kind of the digital world, and it's important that you do that because your students are very savvy and they really understand a lot about kind of how to move around in this digital world, but they don't have your wisdom always as a parent. Parents have a sense of understanding because they've been around for a while as to what you should and shouldn't do, right? I mean, the whole thing when I was growing up was don't talk to strangers. Well, now it's really easy to talk to strangers. As a matter of fact, you talk to strangers all the time when you're playing a game on the Xbox or when you're kind of in a chat group or something like that. It happens all the time, and so that's not as simple to enforce anymore. And so this whole idea of digital citizenship and having parental involvement is, to us, very important. And so we wanted to have this night and a number of other opportunities to kind of interact with parents on these things. We'll have some virtual conversations as well down the line and have those continuing. But that's our goal, is to be able to equip our parents for the world in which the students find themselves, and to be able to kind of understand some wise practices, maybe best practices that we've learned from other parents and that we as parents maybe use with our own students and our own children. So that's kind of the goal of what our Digital Citizenship Initiative is about from my perspective, and hopefully it's something that's going to help our students better know how to navigate in what could be treacherous waters. So that would be my part. Who's next, Robbie? Okay, so Matt Clodfelter will come up, and Matt is the assistant principal, and he's primarily responsible for student activities at Ben Davis High School. So Matt, thank you for coming up.
So a few years ago when I got the position as assistant principal for student life, one of my responsibilities was technology. And with technology, I kind of said, well, that includes social media. And at the time, we didn't have a high school Twitter account. But we did have a superintendent who was extremely active on Twitter. So I pursued a high school Twitter account, and right now we have, there's 3 of us that run that account. And so with that comes some level of interaction with our students on Twitter. I kind of decided a couple years ago that our student leaders, that some of them I would follow on Twitter. You know, the president of our senior class, I follow her on Twitter. Our Purple Rain leaders, you know, our student pep block, I follow them on Twitter. And at that time, when we started the high school Twitter account, we just had 1 or 2 organization-based Twitter accounts in our school. We had Ben Davis football, and I think senior class officers had a Twitter. That was really it. At this point, I haven't done an account recently, but I'll promise you that high school Twitter accounts for our specific organization, clubs, classrooms, etc., we're probably approaching 200. And so my job, and then the other 2 that help me with it, is we try to keep up with that, and we try to make sure that our high school Twitter then is kind of the mothership, that we retweet as much as we possibly can. We try to share some new information. Well, when we follow students, then sometimes we see the things that they tweet in our timeline. And so there's times when I pull our student leaders aside and I say, listen, you need to think about your digital portfolio. What are you putting in your digital portfolio? And there's times that I think that when I talk to our kids about that, what they hear is, we want you to hide who you really are. And that's not it at all. We just want you to share who you really are with an appropriate audience. And a lot of times our kids have the perception that their audience is only their followers. And that just could not possibly be further from the truth. It's a digital resume, and that's what our kids must keep in mind. I was talking to one of our student leaders the other day. He'd had a particularly rough week on Twitter, and I really wanted to pull him aside and talk to him about the story he was telling the world about himself. And he was really hesitant to listen, and I just said, okay, I want you just to take 5 minutes and go to your Instagram and go to your Twitter and just scroll backwards, just your personal account, and tell me who you are. And 5 minutes later he said, well, that's not actually who I am. And I said, listen, if you think that colleges, if you think that potential employers are not going to go back and do what you just did and make a false assumption about you, then you're delusional. Because I promise you that they will. I do that when I hire teachers. That's the first thing I do before I check references. I go to Twitter, I go to Facebook, and I see what they're telling the world about themselves. Because if they're telling their world a bad story, I promise I don't want them at Ben Davis High School. If they are telling an appropriate story about themselves, a story that I want connected to Ben Davis High School, then certainly we go on with the next steps. We have a football player on our team who's being recruited by some of the top colleges in the nation. And he had several big offers come in from big schools, SEC schools, big football schools for all of you sports fans. Oregon didn't offer him until 2 to 3 weeks after everyone else had come in with their offers. And someone asked Oregon and said, why the delay? Why are you late to the party? And they said, well, anybody that we're going to offer a scholarship to, we follow them on social media for 2 to 3 weeks to make sure that that's the type of person that we want on our team. And if that doesn't tell our students and our student athletes and our student leaders that they are developing a digital portfolio, then I don't know what else will. So, next.
Hi, I'm Heather Pierce. I'm the principal across the street at Chapelwood Elementary School. So I'm just going to share with you a little bit from the elementary perspective. One of the things that we talk a lot about at elementary school is about being a good citizen. And we've been teaching that for a long time. We want our kids to know how to treat one another. We want our kids to know how to be responsible and to take responsibility for themselves at school, at home, in our community. And now we're just teaching one more aspect of that. How can you be a responsible citizen through digital citizenship? In many ways, we teach it the same way as we do our traditional lessons in citizenship. So that elementary teacher in me, I did bring some props to show you tonight. One of our sayings, our motto there is that Chapelwood champs choose to be responsible, respectful, and safe. And so when we're teaching kids how to be responsible and respectful and safe, sometimes we use visual props for the younger ones. So one of the things I brought with me, it's a toothbrush and toothpaste. So when we're telling kids that we want you to be responsible, we show them the toothbrush and say, your toothbrush is like your password online. You would never share your toothbrush with anybody else. You should never share your password with anybody else. That's one way for you to be responsible. For your toothpaste, it's really easy to squeeze that toothpaste out of the tube, just like it's very easy to post information online. But it is almost impossible to get the toothpaste back in the tube, and it's almost impossible to rein in that information once it's out there. So you don't want to put anything out there that you might need to take back. Teaching kids to be respectful, we would show them a permanent marker and say everything you post is permanent. And the two administrators you just heard speak have really talked to this, that you're leaving your digital footprint. It is there forever. People can take a snapshot of that. They can repost it, they could print it, so even if you go back and delete it, that does not mean that it's gone. It's probably still out there somewhere. And then the third thing I brought is be safe. So we brought a lock to show you want to have a strong password to keep your information locked up, but also you want to lock up who sees it. So it's really important that we teach our kids how to set those privacy settings. When they're very young, I would say the only people that should be seeing it are family members. Okay, then it could expand to friends, close friends, and then it should really never go beyond people that they don't know personally. We don't need to be sharing information with people that we don't know, especially as children. My glasses too, I'll sometimes tell kids, that's because we want our parents and teachers to remember to be observant. So looking through those glasses, as much as I tell kids that their passwords need to stay private from others, they do need to share them with their parents. Parents should be on and seeing what your kids are seeing and who your kids are communicating with online, just like you would know who their friends were in person. Dr. Stegman? Almost.
Hi, I'm Judy Stegman. I'm Chief Academic Officer for Wayne Township. My job is curriculum assessment and instruction, pre-K to 12. So you can imagine that learning and digital learning is a really important thing. Students and access to technology will help students expand their learning and individualize their learning, and it changes learning and accelerates learning for our students. We want to be sure all of our kids have access. To have access, they have to know how to be a good digital citizen because they're out there engaging with others and talking with others online and interacting with others, and we want to be sure they're leaving a positive footprint. So really, it's important that they have a solid foundation, and you coming tonight is the beginning of that foundation, and we just want to thank you for working together with us as a district in connecting home and school and ensuring that our students are developing good actions and habits and online character so that they can continue to be successful at school, within the school learning environment, and then also within the larger social environment. So thank you for coming tonight and working with us.
Thank you to all the administrators who have given their perspective to us tonight. Next, this evening, we have two of our media specialists, like I mentioned before. One is Lana Reeser, who is the media specialist at Lyndhurst 7th and 8th grade center, and Jessica Fry, who is the media specialist at Maplewood Elementary. And they've brought two students with them as well to give their perspective on direct instruction of digital citizenship, and then students who can give you some ideas of what they perceive as digital citizenship and how it's instructed here at Wayne Township.
All right, I'm Jessica Fry, and I teach media specialist. I'm a media specialist down at Maplewood. No, we'll just take our notes so that we don't have to log in. Yeah, it's okay. We had a nice presentation already. So we start. I start in the library, kindergarten, or I start with kindergarten, go all the way to 6th grade. Kindergarten and 1st grade, we're basically working on logging in, talking about the importance of your username, your password, keeping it private, memorizing it because it will stick with them until they graduate. We also are talking about the basics of handling technology appropriately. So here's your keyboard, this is the mouse, this is the projector, this is the laptop. Just really, really, really basic, concrete skills. Then we go up to second grade and fifth grade are both keyboarding units. So we work on keyboarding skills, 2 of the 4 grading periods. The other grading periods in second grade, right now we're talking about communicating safely, how to just send a message. If it's all in caps, it could mean you're angry. If you have a bunch of exclamation marks, it can mean you're angry. Texting talk versus school language, just more of those basic concrete skills. Second grade towards the end of the year is also working on research. So we cover just really basic searching skills, how to enter things in Google, how to obtain what you want with just some basic keywords, and I guess that's about second grade because they're doing research at the end of the year. Third grade, we start really getting into online safety because it's third grade that they really start getting onto different websites where they could possibly be interacting with each other. Third grade, that's about the age at home that they're really diving into it. I know it's happening earlier, but third grade is kind of when we really start talking about online safety, how when you put your password out there, when you put your username out there, when you put other personal information out there, it's open for everybody to see. So we also talk about finding age-appropriate websites, how when you go to Google, the results you get aren't always the best choice for you. Maybe using a different search engine at that age is more appropriate. Going to fourth grade, we start using more keywords and how to, we're doing that right now, that's why it's sticking in my brain. Using keywords and finding things online, also working on citing sources because you don't want to plagiarize, how to enter them into your research projects, and giving credit where credit's due. And then also they start evaluating websites. So as they're going through their research, really showing how, maybe Wikipedia or wherever isn't your best site. Anybody can go on and make a website. So you want to make sure that you have the skills necessary to evaluate the site appropriately. Fifth grade, like I mentioned, is more keyboarding. And then we also talk about plagiarism. And then we really get into note-taking and how when you're going online, using the skills we learned in third and fourth grade with research and keywords and using Google and KidRex, how to take notes based on what you find online and then cite it appropriately. And then sixth grade, they have their Chromebooks, similar to third grade. Sixth grade can take them home. So sixth grade is really like the eye-opening, hammer down, that you're making your big digital footprint. You have your Chromebook, it's going home with you. You're searching for things. We want to make sure that we're really channeling how to be appropriate. We're using advanced searches on our Chromebooks, Google Classroom, Google Apps, locating and using appropriate apps, websites. Even when you're home, you still have the same rules as you do at school. So just trying to correlate the two together.
Okay. And my name is Lana Reeser, and I am the media specialist at Lyndhurst 7th and 8th grade center. And for me, I really focus on plagiarism, especially like in 7th grade. The internet just makes it really easy for kids to find something, copy and paste it into a paper. And so we just really try to tell them that citing your source and what is plagiarism. I try to make it personal for them. So in other words, like, how would you like it if you created something online and somebody stole it and used it and put their name on it? And that kind of really hits home with a lot of students. And I also try to use real life examples of people who have gotten in trouble for plagiarizing. The kids are always surprised. J.K. Rowling she's been sued so many times because people have tried to say, well, she stole my idea, but she has never, they've all been thrown out of court. So kids always find that kind of interesting and real life examples. So in 8th grade, I really focus on, I teach kids how to write an in-text citation. That's a skill that they will do more in high school. So we teach them, that's like a new skill for them. In Wayne, we use the MLA format, Modern Language Association, which has a certain, there are rules for how to cite things. And so they can be exposed to it in middle school, and then when they write research papers in high school, it's the same format. I tell kids when they cite a source, it gives them credibility. It's saying, I didn't just make this up, but it came from this person, and this person knows what they're talking about because they're a professor or whatever. So when you cite somebody, it's giving your paper credibility. And I always tell them about the Purdue OWL, which is the online writing lab, and that lists all the rules. There's lots of citation formats. Like I said, we use MLA, and so you can go on that website and get all the rules on how to cite something. And then there are other websites like EasyBib, Citation Machine, where you can plug in the author and the title and the magazine or journal, and it will put it in the correct format for you. And kids really, of course, that's, anything that'll do the work for them. That's kind of nice. And nowadays, the databases that we use, they will, if you use a magazine article, it will put it, do the citation for you. So kids can just copy and paste that into their resource list at the end. Databases, if you use those, they make it pretty easy. I also talk about website evaluation, just like Jessica. There's lots of fake websites out there that look really real, but once you have to teach kids what to look for, who's the author, when was it written, those type of questions. You can see, oh, and then there's a checklist you can go through, and they can say, oh, this is fake, and then they start laughing when they figure it out. So website evaluation is really big because we want, especially when kids are doing research, they need to be using information from a credible site. We don't want them, anybody could, just like Jessica said, anybody can make a website, and unfortunately people deliberately put wrong information out there. They love that. I always show them Snopes.com, which does internet hoaxes. If you get something, some kind of email or whatever, if you want to check out if something is really true, you can go to that website. And so we have fun with that. And then just talking about your digital footprint, which other people have talked about. And, it'll be interesting to see as I get the kids, like when I ask them, what's a digital footprint, they don't know that, they've not heard that term before. But that's what you do online, and it creates a permanent record, and a lot of kids don't know that. So it'll be interesting as kids grow, and I get these elementary students up here, they'll be a little bit more familiar with it. So anyway, and then I have brought two students with me, Faith Brooks and Anthony McAllister. They're 8th graders at Lyndhurst, and they are going to share how they have seen digital citizenship modeled in the classroom at Lyndhurst, or how they have applied digital citizenship skills to their life. So, Faith, do you want to go first?
Sure. There have been a couple, we have filters on our Chromebooks. There have been a couple of kids in my class who've actually broken the filters, and there's always a teacher who checks them and fixes it. And teachers are always checking up on Chromebooks, see what you're into, and stuff like that. And I've applied that to my personal internet usage by not getting a Facebook until I'm at a certain age and websites like that.
My turn?
Yeah.
Okay. In our classroom, like Faith said, there have been students who just completely denied what our teachers have said, and they've faced consequences. And I've applied that at home with only going to websites I should be on, not inappropriate websites, and not putting stupid stuff or just inappropriate stuff on Facebook or Instagram or any of that stuff.
Okay, great. I think that's it. Anybody have any questions?
Do we have questions for the students or the two instructors?
One thing we didn't mention in detail in grade levels was we didn't really talk about cyberbullying, and as I was finishing I was kind of thinking, oh wait, we need to mention that. But it's in our curriculum, but it's something that's covered in our everyday language. So I might be talking second graders that want messaging. Today I mentioned cyberbullying, and then it's through the day. It's our daily language. Anytime a kid gets on the computer, we're talking about being appropriate, what a cyberbully is, but it's not necessarily a solid unit for every grade. It is for a couple, but not for every grade. But it's mostly filtered into our daily language across all the grades, at least for me in the Media Center, I believe. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. For the students, you all are both 8th graders?
Yes.
Okay, so as you finish out this school year and you guys are about to venture off and join the 9th grade, what's going to keep you motivated in keeping that self-respect and that self-worth, knowing to follow and stick with those rules of not going onto inappropriate websites or doing things inappropriate based off your age? What's going to motivate you to carry that on with you as you travel into the high school years?
Probably my parents, because they like to keep up on what I'm doing and check on what I'm doing, and also my teachers, because they do the same for me.
And like, it's just like pretty much the right thing to do, and you might get looked down on, and like my dad just said, he'll whoop me if So it's just like the respectable thing to do and common sense.
Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you so much. The next three presenters we have coming up are Shannon Singleton, Kyle Cox, and John Klein, who are some excellent educators in our district from various grade levels. I will let them continue through. And Detective, do you have the remote? They have a presentation as well. I'm going to see if it will work there. It doesn't work. I'm going to stand back here. Use it once and see if it's
All right. I'm Kyle Cox. I teach English at the 9th grade center. A couple things I wanted to touch on. So why use the technology? Big reason for that, I think, is that's how we learn in real life. Like, we could give them a worksheet and be done with it, but with all the information that's out there with just a click on the phone or computer or whatever it may be, I think that's where we need to start doing that in school. There's just more avenues for exploring, learning for the students. I think can enrich whatever topic is that we're studying. How to use appropriately. That's a hard thing for kids to learn, especially dealing with teenagers. I think the big thing is to establish expectations early and talk about how to interact with others and being respectful. And that is a big challenge every day. And I know that as teenagers, they're going to make mistakes. So I think I try to use that as more of a learning opportunity as much as anything else. And then why present your best self? I know Mr. Clodfeller already touched on about schools checking on that, employers checking on that. And I think that's really important. I try to preach that to my students, my players, letting them know that people are looking, people are watching what you do, and just because you made a mistake, you can still fix it. Like, go back, I mean, from this point forward, be the best self that you can be. So that's kind of really the challenges that, obviously, 14, 15-year-olds, maybe they don't really care as much, but at least at the 9th grade center, try to establish that, so hopefully it carries on into the high school.
All right, I'm John Klein. I teach over at Lyndhurst 7th, 8th grade center. I'm giving you guys the middle school perspective today, or this evening. Middle school is a pretty unique time for a kid, obviously. So teaching them a lot with the digital citizenship aspect takes a lot of time, right? It's not something that we do in a day. I can tell you it's been something with the group that I currently have that we've been working on for 2 years, and they still screw up, right? Just this week alone, I have dealt with cyberbullying, a lot of it, right? And it's typically a pack of kids that get going, and it's usually on social media, something I don't have access to, right? But I do have ways to get access to it. So this stuff that's up here for me, and am I moving around too much? All right, this stuff up here to me is more of what we have to work with middle school kids, all right? So one of the big pieces, appropriate use. A simple thing inside the classroom that they struggle with on a daily basis is when it's appropriate to do certain things. One of the things that they like to do, right? Play games. We don't block every single thing a kid gets on a Chromebook, right? We got to teach them those things that they are supposed to do when they are supposed to do it, right? So just working on something as simple as when is it appropriate to actually get on there and play a game, right? For some of them, it's like, oh, wait, the teacher is not watching. It's right now. No, it's not. Right? So we have to teach them when that time is right. Online collaboration. A lot of times in the middle school, it's the first time that they're doing a lot of stuff within Google Docs or Google presentations. So we have to work on what appropriate use looks like in terms of collaboration. Now, a good example, a girl was sharing a PowerPoint presentation with a group of kids. She thought that some of the kids that she was collaborating with might screw the project up, right? So her decision was to go into the collaboration settings and lock out the other two kids. Brilliant idea, but not good use of collaboration in the classroom, right? So we have to have those conversations about what that appropriate use might look like. Modeling the technology. So a lot of times in middle school, the teachers have to model what appropriate use looks like, right? So if a teacher's in there saying, hey, you know what, you shouldn't be texting in class, well, a teacher shouldn't be sitting there texting too. So it's part of it, a big part of it is modeling what we want our kids to be doing within a middle school setting, right? Which hopefully carries up to the high school. Cyberbullying, I kind of mentioned that a little bit. We do presentations. Our guidance counselors come in. Our teachers are educated what cyberbullying looks like. One of the things I realized for the kids that are kind of moving into this Chromebook and digital age, they might not necessarily know what cyberbullying is or how to deal with it, right? So part of the education in the middle school is teaching them, like, if this is happening, then this is what you should do. And some of our kids don't know, right? Or they start getting bullied on there, and it's like a gang mentality on the internet. Man, does it get bad. And so sometimes they feel this mentality coming on, and they don't know what to do. So having an adult that they feel like they can talk to and get those issues out there. But social networks, even talking to kids about when they get angry. You know, one of the things that we like to talk about, at least in the area that I am in the building, is when you do get angry, what do you want to actually say, right? What you want to say is probably not what you should say. So sometimes it's teaching them to actually think about what they want to say, what should they say, and what will they say, right? Building in that time for them to actually think about something before they do it. And a lot of them don't, right? In a middle school age, right, I know we all remember those ages, you're always going to, most of the time, react emotionally. So it's getting our kids to stop and think before they react emotionally. And typically what they say when they're emotional is not what they actually want. Privacy, right? So you get on there, it's teaching them, you know, I heard our media center specialist talking about it, but it's making sure that they understand how to turn those settings and shut themselves down. Because one of the things I love to do when I get 7th graders, which I think they're under 13, so they shouldn't be on Twitter or Facebook anyway, but I love to go in there to classes when I first get them and just type in their name. A lot of them are just shocked that you can see everything on their Twitter account. They have no idea how privacy settings work, and they're just completely out there. So really working on it, helping them be educated in the privacy. Plagiarism, big thing, right? So they like to just go on there, copy. Some of them aren't even thinking about even changing fonts. So they'll be typing in the font, and they'll copy and paste something. It's still the original font from the website, and it's still a different color, right? So it's teaching them what that appropriate use looks like and giving credit where it is due. And then time management. How do I manage my time now that I have all these resources before me? It is very difficult to sometimes teach a 13-year-old how to manage their time. Now when you start putting all this technology in front of them, it even makes it more difficult, right? Because they are a generation that likes that instant gratification, right? Smartphones, right away. Now they're on Chromebooks. And if they're not entertained, they're going to find something that entertains them or engages them. So teaching them these things is something that we really focus on in the middle school. It is an ongoing process. It is not something that is done instantly. Sometimes it takes many years, right? So we have them for 2 years, so hopefully we can teach them that stuff before they get to you guys.
because we're trying to get our students college ready. So it's a little less of the direct instruction, and that, like Mr. Klein said, you don't teach this in a day. You have to spend a lot of time on it in the middle school. Get our students career and college ready. Said you don't teach this in a day. You have to spend a lot of time on it in the middle school. We don't have as much time to spend it on the high school, so we try to just embed it in what we do and help students take it to the next level. So it's really addressed informally across all curriculums. I sent out some emails and some feelers to different departments in our school to ask, when do you specifically address this? And everybody's like, well, it's kind of all the time. It's embedded in everything we do. And our students need to be thinking about it all the time because almost everything we do incorporates some sort of technology. So 3 areas of focus that kind of reiterates what we've heard from our administrators and other teachers and instructors today is this whole idea of building your online identity. But it gets even more real at the high school level because they're actually doing their college applications, they're doing their resumes, and so we can make that real world connection a little bit easier, which helps. But we always have to remind students that they should be thinking about that. In our instruction, we really focus a lot on digital literacy skills. When students get to college, they're going to be asked to research and solve problems at an even deeper level, and we want to make sure that they are good consumers of what's out there on the web. So we spend a lot of time teaching them how to evaluate their sources. And we use fun examples as well, like from social media. When we'll be debating a topic, students will bring up something that they saw on Twitter or they saw on Facebook, like, well, I heard blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, where did that information come from? Are you checking it before you're just hitting retweet or sharing that on Facebook? Or because you don't want to pass on make yourself look ignorant for not understanding what you saw there. So we talk about ways that they can look things up. If we have a lot of teachers who do current event Fridays, things like that. Well, students have to share the source that they got it from, and they talk about which sources are valuable. So the students are aware that it's their responsibility to make sure that something that they're using as evidence is reliable. And so we spend a lot of time with that because especially at the college level, students will need to do that. And lastly, as students get into the workforce and into college, of course, more and more, pretty much everything will be done online. So we try to incorporate that as much as we can in the classroom. So it might seem frustrating sometimes if technology is failing us at times, or students might not have all the resources they need, but we're not going to give up on using technology because it's not going away, and we will do all we can to support the process with technology because we got to keep getting better at it. And so we try to embed as much technology as we can in the classroom. And we try to help students make the connection that things like Twitter aren't only used for connecting with friends. They're also used in the professional world. They're also used for learning. And so if we can bring examples of how students can use those tools like Twitter and Instagram into our lessons, let them use them through instruction, then they might see how they can use Twitter to make themselves look better professionally versus maybe putting forth, a maybe not impressive digital portfolio, as Mr. Clodfelter put it. So at the high school level, like I said, we don't take the baby steps that they might take at the middle school and work on it every day with them, but it is embedded in all of our instruction, and we're trying to take it to the next level. We need them to become more able to self-regulate and do more self-investigation of what they're doing instead of us being the ones who tell them. So we have to kind of take off the baby steps a little bit. So that's kind of what we do at the high school level. And I think that's all we have.
Any questions for these classroom teachers? All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. The next person I'd like to introduce is Detective Kevin Getz, who is a detective with the Indiana State Police Cybercrimes Unit, and I will let him give you a little more information about his background and what his experience level is as well. And I will go head back here and set up his presentation for him. Thank you.
You're not going to like me because I move around a lot.
That's perfectly fine.
Just a little bit of background on myself. I'm with the Indiana State Police. I live down in the Bloomington area. I've been a state trooper for 21 years. I worked the road in uniform duty for about 13 years, and then slid over to the investigations side of the house because I wanted to see how to investigate crimes. And I did that for about 7 years. And as of November of 2013, in the course of my general investigations, I became interested in internet crimes against children, and I'm currently assigned to our ICAC unit, which I also work with our task force. And ICAC is Internet Crimes Against Children, so I'm heavily involved in child pornography and child exploitation cases. And a lot of what we're dealing with is internet crimes, social media type crimes. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a PowerPoint today on social media and the internet. And one of the things that I love sitting back and watching people, and it's just hilarious. Who here has a smartphone? Just hold your hand up. Yeah, about 80% of everybody has. I'm so cool. I've got 2 of them actually. One of them is for work. So, but that's the world that we now live in. It is this. It is mobile. It is access. Instantaneous. And because of that, what's out there? Well, social media-wise, there are more than 3,000 social media sites available to anybody. And obviously, these are the biggies. Just a few of them. Facebook, Instagram, Flickr. Everybody knows what Flickr is, right? Has anybody heard of Flickr? No. Flickr is just a social media site that allows you to download photos. That's all it is. Vine, videos, Pinterest, Meet Me. I Googled, it doesn't matter what you're interested in, there is a social media site for you. I Googled vampire social media sites, and I found this internet site. This is a Vampire Rave. This is a social media site for people who are into goth vampires. This is a site for people to get together who have a similar interest so they can communicate. Doesn't matter where they are in the world. Disney was right. As much as I can't stand that ride, it's a small world. The internet has made the world much smaller than what it used to be. And obviously, here we go. Facebook, MySpace, YouTube is a social media site because it gives you an opportunity to have a comment section. You can comment back and forth with somebody on a video that's posted. Twitter, blogging, Bebo. Bebo is a social media site that's now targeting kids that are 8 to 15 years old. Omegle, video site, LiveJournal, active blogging. It's all out there. Obviously, the big one is Facebook. Here, who has Facebook site? Okay. What's interesting, especially I saw our middle schoolers up there, what is interesting from our perspective is that we are seeing a shift in the high schools and the college age kids from Facebook. They are now going to Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, Kick Messenger. Why? Does anybody know why they're shifting from Facebook? Because parents are on it. That's it. All the parents are having their Facebook, and so the kids are wanting to stay one step ahead of everybody else. There's more than 1 billion profiles, more than 7,000 new users each day, and if Facebook was a country, it'd be the 3rd largest country in the world right now. I have a Facebook page, and my daughter still has hers, and she gets mad because I post everything about my kids on it, you know, when they're playing softball or football or whatever they're doing. So she gets a little upset. But that's the way we communicate nowadays. We've got internet and phone apps, game apps for cell phones. You can communicate and you can play games on your phone, and you can communicate with someone else and play a game with somebody else. Candy Crush, all those word games that you can play with other people. Who has Xbox at home? Xbox is social media, because if you have the system that allows you to hook up, you can play with a kid from California. All you got to do is have the headphones, and you can talk back and forth, and you guys can play a game together. That's social media. Spokio and Pipple, those are websites that enables access to databases. So again, just like Google, just like Spokio, type in a name or type in an address, we can find out anything you want. And yes, businesses are using those sites. Colleges are using those sites because they're doing their due diligence to do background checks. What's going on? What is this person using this social media site for? Just a real quick on internet basics. Static, semi-static, and dynamic IP addresses. Does everybody know what an IP address is? Parents probably. Do you know what an IP address is? IP address is basically like the address on your mailbox. It tells you where the internet is going. So static is going to be the one that stays at work. It's static. It stays there at the house. It doesn't go with you. A dynamic IP address is the cell phone, iPhone, and other smartphones. This is dynamic because it goes everywhere I go. So I can go to McDonald's and I can use my iPhone off their Wi-Fi. I can go to Starbucks and use their Wi-Fi. I can go to the public library and use their public Wi-Fi. This is dynamic. So it gives you an idea of how mobile we have become. In fact, I predict that you will see a shift from who has a desktop at home. Okay. I think you'll start to see, just my personal opinion, but now who also has a laptop. You will start seeing that shift from that device that stays on the desk to the laptop to this. Yes, this is a phone, but this is also a computer. It has the same processing capabilities as a computer. And in my line of work, we are also running into these child pornography, child exploitation cases with cell phones. So what's a parent to do? Well, have a relationship with your child, okay, so that you can feel comfortable with them and they can feel comfortable with you, so if there's a problem, you all can discuss it. Spying or not to spy, I found out you're better off being active with your child. You know, when they're on the computer, go online together. You know, if they're doing research for a project, be interested in what they're doing. What's your project entailing? Well, what are you looking for? And you can engage your child, and then you can also then know where exactly are they going on the internet. Supervision. You know, know what your child is doing with the internet, and it's no different than knowing what your child is doing when they go out in public with their friends. You know, you're not going to let them go on their own out in public, so why would you let them be on their own on the internet and visiting sites that are completely inappropriate? To give you an example, everybody knows about that 6 degrees of separation for Kevin Bacon, where if you type it, you can link pretty much everybody to Kevin Bacon. Well, it's almost the same way with the internet. It doesn't take long to type in a certain address, and you're going to end up somewhere that you're not. And I know one of the examples was like White House dot something. Well, people were thinking that that was getting them to whitehouse.org. Well, it's not. It's an adult pornography site. So be careful where you're going. And again, if you're going to tell your child, hey, I can't let you go out on your own with those people because we don't know what you're doing, then why would you then say, yeah, go ahead and take the laptop into your bedroom and go do whatever you want? If it doesn't feel right, parents, kids, trust, and also kids, you're old enough to understand what your gut's telling you. If it doesn't seem right, it's not right. Set reasonable boundaries. I mean, to sit there and say, well, you're not going to be on the internet is completely unrealistic. That's not the world that we live in nowadays. I mean, okay, I'm going to date myself. When I was in high school, you went and you used the encyclopedia and used other resources. I mean, nowadays, you guys you can do all your research with this at home or in the classroom. It's one-stop shopping right here. So to sit here and say, well, you're not going to use it, period, that's a completely unrealistic expectation to have. But if you work with them and set those reasonable backgrounds, then everything will, I think, will work out. You know, this is how the generation is going to communicate. And I was raised, you know, where you looked at somebody in the face and you had a face-to-face conversation. Well, that's not the way kids nowadays are communicating. And we've all seen it in a restaurant or wherever. How many of you have seen 4 people sitting at the table and all 4 of them are buried into their phone? You know, you say, well, my gosh, they can't even have a conversation. Well, yeah, they are having a conversation. They're having a conversation with this because that is how they do things nowadays. So as difficult as it is, you have to kind of understand, okay, that's how they're going to communicate and that's how they're going to do things. You know, let your child communicate with friends in real life. No virtual friends. You know, not, oh, hey, I've got a friend with somebody who is 13 years old in South Dakota. They may not be a 13-year-old from South Dakota. They could be a 39-year-old sexual predator from Dallas, Texas. Or he could be even closer. So if you're not going to let that person have a real friend, then don't let them have virtual friends. So be very aware of that. And that's a lot of what we're running into, especially in my line of work as it relates to Facebook and some of the social media sites, is crimes against children as related to exposure, as related to child seduction. So it's there. Child predator. The predator, just real quick, and I don't want to be completely doom and gloom, but this is just to inform you. They're going to groom through attention, affection, and gifts. It's going to come through their communication. They're going to establish that lengthy communication with the child. They're preyed because there is a perceived or real lack of attention and affection. Again, that goes back to being involved with your kid. You know, if they're doing their homework, check in on them. Or if they do it at the dining room table, say, hey, what are you doing? How's classes going? What's going on with your life? Be engaged, be involved. So how do you lessen the impact? You remain diligent as a parent. You provide your child with the attention and the affection that they deserve. Always be engaged. I've got 3 children. I've got a college-age daughter, a son who's a high schooler, and a daughter who's an 8th grader. And I am fully engaged in all 3 of them. I'm always following what they're doing. I've been very supportive, always been there for them. And I've always said that, you know, I can remember a time when I didn't have kids, but I'd never trade it now because of what they have brought to me. And that's really about it as far as social media and what you as parents and what you as educators are dealing with. And somebody had made the comment, this isn't going back. It is always evolving. It is always changing. And what you're going to find out is the great, cool social media sites that the kids are loving now, Instagram, whatever. I guarantee you a year from now that will completely change, because there'll be something else out there that'll be really cool and hot that they're going to dig, that they're really going to like, and they want to, again, stay one step ahead of you. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Those are my 2 lovely teens back there. And when you had the slideshow talking about no internet is unrealistic. Mine is, for me, I set the tone for my household. I have a son in college as well, is responsibility and age appropriate. When MySpace was the most popular thing at the time, I don't think he had that, but I'm the one that set up his Facebook account. So I had the password, I set it, I did everything. But he showed a high level of responsibility. They're lacking that right now. So they're not allowed to have a social media account. Have they set one up? Yes, twice on the cell phones they have, but I took both phones. So my question is, with that, how do we get that? Because it is the lack of responsibility that they're showing for me to allow them to have it on putting themselves in danger. And not necessarily even danger with an adult, it's also the danger with their peers, because it's also, this day and age, it's not always an adult that can be a sexual predator.
No.
It could also be their fellow peer as well.
Yes.
So, like, what suggestions, advice, or tips, to help build that communication gap or understanding?
Well, you've already started by taking their phones away from them. I mean, and if that means that you go find a track phone that you get prepaid minutes that's not a smartphone, that is, say, a flip phone, or all it does is just dial and say, here you go, when you need to get hold of me, this is it. And then that way you're controlling they're not going to have access to the internet from this. Now they're forced to go to the internet either through home or through school. And if they're doing it through school, they've got teachers and administrators that are always watching that. And that's the beauty of like the Chromebooks and stuff when the schools do them, because all these kids think they're really savvy and breaking through the security. Well, they know, the schools know, because they have to reset them. So, and it's like, okay, that's pretty obvious, we know who did that. But you're in the right direction. If that's what it takes till they show you a level of responsibility that says, okay, yes, you've reached that point where we feel you're responsible enough. We did the same thing with my daughter. Okay, you're not having a Facebook account when you're in 3rd grade or 4th grade. That's just not the case. To give you an idea of where we are with this technology is my oldest did cadet teaching, and she came home one day and said, Dad, I had to take an iPhone away from a 3rd grader. I mean, that's kind of where we are. So you've made steps in the right direction, and then until they show you, That's what you need to do. And still be fully engaged with them and say, hey, and sit down and have the conversation that says, this is why we're doing this. This is why I'm taking these away from you. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you.
And finally this evening, we wanted to send you home armed with some thoughts and ideas and some tips. Detective Getz has talked about a couple of those, but Dana Lyle and I are both parents of teenagers ourselves. Dana's daughter, our kids go here to school here at Wayne Township. My kids go to Brownsburg. And if you look on the paper that we handed you today, on one side is the schedule, but on the other side is Parenting a Digital Citizen. And we've pulled together some practical things that you can do. And even though Detective Getz has talked about a couple of those, one of my recommendations was going to be get them a feature phone. Don't get them a smartphone. Get a feature phone so that you still have the safety of connectivity if you need to get in touch with them. You also can talk with your carrier, your wireless carrier, and find out what kind of restrictions you can put on a specific line based upon what you want them to do on the account. So you could potentially go online and do that. But if you'll take a look at this page, Dana and I are going to kind of just go back and forth as far as our own households and what we have done in our own experience using technology with our own kids. The first one has just become a part of their world. I know Detective Getz talked about this, but if your kids are on Twitter, be on Twitter. They spend most of their time away from you on a weekly basis when school is in. Most of their time is spent at school. And then when they come home, maybe they eat dinner for maybe an hour with you, then they're doing homework and the after-school activities, and then you maybe get an hour, maybe 2 hours per 24 hours with your children. Much of their lives is spent socially, online. Are you there also with them? Now, I'm not saying be a stalker, because that's the first thing that's going to push them away and make them want to go somewhere else. I'm just saying be there in their world. Be a support with them like you are face-to-face with them, only socially in their world where they are. My kids, my oldest daughter, I thought, oh, she's 13 years old, she's going to want a Facebook account, that's fantastic. She didn't want Facebook. And the only reason she has a Twitter account is because her old teachers use Twitter. She uses Pinterest. She uses Instagram. So I have a Pinterest and I have an Instagram account where I also follow her, but rarely do I connect things with her unless it's things that I'm majorly proud of. I will always, if I have a discipline issue, something like that, or something just maybe I question, that never, ever happens online, ever. Because that is an immediate response of attack, and they're going to be like, oh, I'm going to go find somewhere else to communicate with my friends. I'll contact face-to-face. You want to talk about how you kids have dealt with social media?
The only thing I would add to that is my daughter's a Wayne Township, one of my youngest daughter's a Wayne Township student, and Kyle Cox is her English teacher. And she communicates a lot with her teachers via Twitter, especially Kyle. And I love that because they are another set of eyes watching what she's doing. My husband and I, her dad and I, we look at everything she does. I get a notification when she gets a tweet, but I know that Mr. Cox and I know that Mr. Clodfelter also sees tweets that she does. And so it's another layer of protection. Because she's 15, she does stupid things sometimes. She just does. It's part of being 15, but I love that layer. And we have all the passwords. I know every password of my kids, and they know my social media passwords. That's just what we do in our house. Everybody knows social media passwords. Everybody has access to everything, including my 19-year-old who's at college. So I see everything she does, and I can get into her account if need be. So. And
I'm also not naive enough to think that my kids aren't creating other accounts like you were talking about without my knowledge. And so I go on the computers that I have the password to, and if I don't have the password to it, it's obvious I don't have that password, and I look at the history. My kids know that I look at the history. They know that I'm going to be checking those things. They know that I'm going to be checking their phones. Another thing that we do is number 2. We put all the technology out in a public place. I have our computers. One is in our office. One is in our kitchen. If my girls want to use technology for homework, I certainly don't make them sit in the kitchen. It's not conducive to learning. So I will let them take a Chromebook or a computer into their bedrooms. But as soon as they're done with homework, those come out of their bedrooms and they go in a public place. So that device is not there tempting them in the morning when they first get up or in the evenings There was someone who told me a story about their child who was using a technology and going onto Minecraft at 2 o'clock in the morning. And she said it took us a while to figure out that was happening, but at 2 o'clock in the morning, they were getting them doing this. Now, it wasn't necessarily inappropriate that it was happening, but it was inappropriate that it was happening at that time. And not good for sleep patterns, not good for schoolwork, not good for all of those things. And so that had to be dealt with. And so you take those things out of the bedroom where it's in a private place, and you handle it like that. Whereas technology is not the problem, behavior is the problem. And that's the mindset that we have here at Wayne Township as well. Technology is a tool. The behavior is the problem. Deal with the behavior and fix the behavior itself. Setting guidelines for usage on social media and homework, social media and using technology for homework. Setting those guidelines, discussing what those guidelines are going to be. We've talked to our kids about, you're going to do homework at this time? Okay, you can have a piece of technology. You can use that. I'm fully aware that you're going to text your friends while you're doing homework because it might be homework related. But I'm also going to take a look at those texts and look at the timestamps on those texts and find out what were you discussing at that time. If it was some cute boy and discussions are going on, then okay, this isn't homework. You should have been dealing with homework. Let's get homework done first, and then I'm okay with you using it socially. Perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, my daughter's a big fan of social media during homework, so she says. And so we watch that a lot. She FaceTimes a lot during homework to do homework with friends across the district and things like that. But just like Robbie was saying, everything in our house is in the family room. So it's actually maybe a little sad that you sit around, if you see the Lyles sitting around their house at night, my husband's on one end of the couch with a computer, I'm on another end of the couch with a computer, and Berkeley's at the computer. Like, that's just what we do. And when my oldest daughter kind of complained about that, we said, sorry kid, we're a family. And part of being a family is hanging out together. I like you, I want you in the room with me, I want to be here if you need it. I just like being around you. That's why you're here. And so that's just what we've done. My youngest doesn't care. She's a social butterfly, so she'd be attached to my hip if possible. So that's kind of that. I'm going to jump in. So the plan when something bad happens. I think that was awesome. Mr. Klein talked about that. So a little story. When my daughter hit junior high, that mean girl thing started happening a little bit. That sometimes happens. And she was really struggling because it was happening on social media. How do I take care of this? What do I say? How do I back out of this situation? Someone posted this. I think it's about me, but I'm not sure. Or someone's being mean to someone else. What do I do? And so we really had a lot of conversations about that and let her get to the conclusion that maybe she needed to stop following those people. We led her there. Don't get me wrong. We did a lot of leading to get there. And then it was really hard because once we stopped the following, I'm not going to follow that person anymore. Then what do I say when my friends ask why I'm not following them anymore? And so I don't know about you, but in our house the rule is I will always be the bad guy. I will always be the bad guy. So if there's something going on and you think it's wrong, social media, bullying, whatever, blame me. It's okay. I'll take the fall. I'm your mom. I'm supposed to do that. We didn't have to get there with that, but the plan, we didn't have a plan. We weren't ready. It didn't happen with my older daughter because she's 19, so social media wasn't that big when she was 12. But when my youngest got to junior high, it was big. So if I had another child, heaven forbid, if I had another child, we would have a plan and we would know what to do. So we had to make the plan as we go. If you don't have a plan, absolutely I'd make a plan because that's huge.
It's just making sure that you have a plan. Have that discussion with your kids so that when something bad does happen, they know that they can trust you. They know they can come to you and count on you to have their back.
Well, and I would say we knew it happened before she came to us because we had access to her stuff. So I saw them. So I saw what people were saying. Yeah. And that kind of goes hand in hand.
Your kids are going to be very graphic. And by graphic, I mean photogenic. Let me put it that way. They're going to take pictures of themselves. Our rule in our house is you don't need to take a selfie in the bathroom. Nobody wants to see you in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see you. Yeah. Nobody wants to see you. But get a mirror somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why that became fun.
It's because here it is. It's because there's a ginormous mirror. It's the easiest mirror to get. Find a mirror and take a picture somewhere else. Nobody wants to see you in the bathroom.
Not in the bathroom. It's tacky.
Just somewhere else.
And if they are not clothed.
Yeah.
I don't even find
Say that again. Say that again, please.
If you take a nude shot,
Watch your mouth. Listen.
take a nude photo, selfie, that technically under the statute is child pornography. If it is sent to a friend, that technically under the statute is disseminating child pornography. Under the statute, which is a felony. It's a level 6 felony in the state of Indiana.
I will add.
Did you interrupt?
No,
No, by all means.
no. Yeah.
I was trying to be mindset of what it is, but that's the reason how I ended up having to confiscate the phone. Because that's my concern as a teenager. Like you, my son's 19. Stefan, I grew up, this is my school. I went to all these schools, and my son he's in Bloomington. And so I didn't have all that with him, but I set I had the password for them because I seen the lack of immaturity in them. I already knew you can't do this right now because you're not mature enough to deal and handle what's out there in this world. But now, because their dad had got them the phone, so now you're sneaking and setting up these websites on the phone. And I only have one social media. I don't want to do it on the passwords, having 15 social media accounts. But that's the dangers of things with teenage girls being very impressionable by boys or, other friends, and you want to do all these things that's going to put yourself in harm's way in a very, very harmful way. That's my concern. So that's why the phone is completely confiscated. It's just, and this is the second time. They're just completely not ready as ninth graders. So that was really my true concern, but I was trying to be mindful, but since it's out open in the air, and now we got the attitude, so when I go back home, I'm gonna deal with attitude again 2 days in a row, but whatever. This is for safety. They need to know this.
I would say that you are right on the money as far as making that stand. You are the parent. You have to make those kinds of decisions in your own house. There are many parents who will say, but it's their phone. Oh, no. You pay for the phone yourself. Till they get a job and they're paying for their own phone, it's your phone.
But even as a minor, whatever.
And you're right. You're right. You're being the parent, and I think you have every right in doing that. I also would say have a plan for restitution, I guess I could say. Okay. Have a plan for letting them to gain back your trust. Slowly as you need it to be in your situation, so that they know you're the parent and you're helping them learn. There also needs to be a way for them to regain your trust and to regain that ability to be able to take pictures of themselves appropriately. Now that they've learned, let them slowly try to gain back that trust and be able to get that back. Okay. But I applaud you for taking that stand and for doing that with those photos. Set a time. Set a time for there to be non-techie time in your house. Let there be some time where there isn't any technology being used. And follow it yourself.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Follow it yourself as well, because we can be just as guilty as our kids at using technology at times when it's not appropriate. They want the attention from you as much as you'd like to have their attention. So certainly set that time and follow that rule yourself.
I will say it's real easy to think about dinner time as a time without tech, but in our house, if you're in a car, no technology, because that's a good time. We're all confined in this little space, especially in this kind of weather together, and put it away. We're going to talk. This is when we talk about things that's going on, or we sing songs together, or whatever. Dinner's the easy one for our house, but we do it in cars. No tech in cars.
Watch for odd, strange behaviors. And that's not just technology-wise, but a lot of times bullying can happen. And when you find your kids just acting strangely, and I'm not saying the typical strangeness of teenagers because I have 2 of them living with me. I'm just saying, watch the signs that they give you, the verbal signs, the physical signs that they give you, and kind of see what's going on in their lives. Because, like I said, they have a whole social world that's going on that you may not be privy to. Be aware that that's going on and become a part of it, or maybe just ask them about what's going on outside your life that you don't see visually, but is actually happening socially. I'd say, just like Dana said, know the passwords of all the devices and all the accounts. You're not going to know them all, potentially, but I'm pretty confident that the relationship I have with my children is that I have all the accounts that they have, because I'm watching their strange behavior, because things are in public places in my house. I'm pretty confident. Now, I'm not naive enough to think that they can't potentially do that on their own and get accounts on their own that I'm not aware of. So I know that that's a possibility. However, I have all of the passwords. Both of my girls and our family and my work email all comes on my phone. So I have all of those email accounts coming to my phone. So when they come through, I just check the subject lines. I check who they're having discussions with through their email addresses and through the subject lines. And most of them I don't even read. But when some come through, I'll say, hey, I saw this email come through, and what was going on? I don't ever handle it digitally, like I said. All of those types of things will happen face-to-face so that I can see body language, so I can see visual, I can hear from their talking. When they're talking to me, you know when your kids are lying to you. You can hear that. It's hard to hear in an email and a text. So have that kind of relationship with your kids. Learn and discuss privacy settings. When you're gaining your kids' trust back, look at the privacy settings on those devices, on those accounts, and learn what those are for yourself, but also for your children, and teach them what those privacy settings are so that they know that what they put out there is only visible to the people that they friend, not just to the entire internet in general. So that they can't get requests from people from outside of their network. If someone wants to friend them, they have to initiate it themselves, not just a blind request in from them.
And I would add, if you're not sure what those privacy settings are, then what we did with my kids every time they got a new social media account said, you're going to just give one person access. Share, be friends, whatever, with one person, and then we can see what it looks like. And that person would be somebody ourselves, or like my neighbor, like you can give it to Sharon, because let's see what it looks like from Sharon's perspective. And then we knew we had the settings right. As each new social media comes up, everything's a little bit different. We knew we had them right, and then we were comfortable with saying, okay, go forth. Have a good time.
And the last thing I put on here was discuss the future, and that was simply the idea that has been talked about several times, was your digital footprint. There are companies out there that admissions officers and employers hire to go find dirt on new applicants for jobs and for schools. Their sole job is to go search social media and find out information on applicants. I mean, the employer and the college don't really have to go out and do these searches anymore. They just hire a company to do it. Socialintelligence.com is one of those companies. They do nothing but get paid to search Google and to search Facebook and to search Twitter, Pinterest, all of the social media sites to find information on people, so that only online good employees and applicants to schools will be brought into the organization.
So the children won't be naive to this. So we're teaching them about privacy settings, but for them to understand, when universities and potential employers hire those companies to do that, those privacy settings no longer matter. Yes or no?
They do matter, because if you have those privacy settings set, social intelligence won't be able to get that information if those privacy settings are if there's like a walled garden, if there's a guardrail there, they won't be able to get that information because you have those privacy settings set. But I will tell you that if you have a third grader, and I work with elementary students in Wayne Township, if you have third graders who have Facebook accounts, which many do, and they're putting things out there frivolously, that information that's put out there as a third I will tell you that if you have a third grader, and I work with elementary students in Wayne Township, if you have third graders who have Facebook accounts, which many do, and they're putting things out there frivolously, that information that's put out there as a third